Welcome back to the Legal Vixen Podcast. Today I have on a dear friend of mine. She's also an attorney, Lauren Johnson-Norris. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Karren. So glad to see you.
I know. I think the last time I saw you, we were sitting in court in the jury box, not being jurors, but just chatting.
Sounds familiar. Probably at West Court.
I think it was. Yeah. It was either West Court or Newport Beach Courthouse.
Just hanging out, waiting for a case to be called.
That's what I love about going to court. It's like social hour.
It is, especially if you're not there every day. Like if I'm there every day, I don't really want to see everybody, but when I'm there once in a while, I'm really excited to see old friends.
And there's certain people you just never want to run into?
There's certain people I'm ducking into the bathroom. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's funny. I'll have to talk to you about that off camera because there are some people that come to mind for me anyway.
Yeah, same.
Anyways, can you tell the listeners or viewers a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. So I'm a criminal defense and child welfare attorney, as you know. I handle cases in the trial court and on appeal. My background started, I would say it started in law school when I decided that I wanted to do criminal defense work.
Wait, where did you go to law school? Was it New York?
Cardozo in New York. And I went, well, maybe if it didn't start in undergrad. I worked as a volunteer at California Youth Authority back when kids went to prison.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was tutoring youthful offenders who were doing really long sentences. And they weren't getting school because of lockdown, so we were able to go in and tutor them. And I knew when I left undergrad, I really had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew in law school I wanted to make a difference in those kids' lives. So I went to law school. The first year I had no idea what was going on. I didn't understand anything. I felt like I called my mom. I'm like, should I go home? She's like, yes, you should come home. I'm like, no. I don't want to come home. New York is amazing. So my first summer, I got to intern at Legal Aid Society Criminal Defense Division. I applied to work with, in the delinquency court, working with kids, but I didn't get that. They gave me the adults. And right away, I realized, these were the kids, 5 years later. Same kids.
That's so true.
Same kids that I would have represented as teenagers. Now they're young adults. Yeah. And they're facing now adult charges. But I loved it. It was never boring, which is probably when people say why do you do this work?
It's fun.
It's fun. It's never boring. I'm never reading boring documents.
Yeah.
I'm always talking to people and trying to uncover mysteries and reading facts about people that you couldn't make up. It's just wild. It's wild. So I did that for both of my summers in law school. I took a criminal appeals clinic, a criminal defense clinic, and in law school I got to try a jury trial.
You did?
Yeah. So in New York, you can do defense work supervised. Here in California, you can't do that. I know they let prosecutors, they might allow that, but on defense side, they don't.
Oh, wow.
But in New York, in my clinic, I got to represent a man who was a Boston school teacher. He was a history teacher, and he had come down to New York City for the WTO protest, the World Trade Organization.
Oh, okay.
Back, that was a big thing then, before Occupy Wall Street. And he was protesting, and they corralled them in around the building over and over and over again. Well, they wanted to get in the building, but that wasn't happening. And I did all this research on the constitutionality of the protests and and what New York police did wrong and all that. And I did the trial. This guy just wanted to have his day in court. I did the trial supervised by my professor. We hung a couple counts.
Oh, wow.
I walked him. I think he went down on whatever would be called disturbing the peace here, right?
Oh,
whatever
perfect.
it is there. And he was just thrilled to be able to testify, and he wanted the transcript. He was a part of history. But I got to try a case at how old was I? 24 years old.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. It was amazing. It took me a minute getting out of law school to get a job. I passed the bar first time, but...
In New York, or did you come here?
I came back home.
Okay.
So I was in New York during 9/11. And that was my first year of law school. That was
gosh.
It was a huge, besides the fact that New York was a huge culture shock for me, I'm a Valley girl. Okay. I grew up going to the beach, skateboarding,
Punk rock music.
Right, punk rock. I was just a suburban Valley girl, driving everywhere. And New York was really different. It's amazing now, but I also was broke. I had no money. I was working 3 jobs in law school just to be, to be able to live in the city. So expensive. So after 9/11, I was I think I want to be home. This place is kind of suffocating. And there was also a lot of trauma in the city.
Yeah.
People were not dealing well, what happened. So my plan was to come home. But when I came home, I didn't have those connections. that a graduate from a local law school would have.
Right.
So it took me about 10 months to get the job at the Orange County Public Defender's Office.
And that's where
the magic began.
Yeah. Did you first start at Westcourt?
I did.
Yeah, because I'd just come back from having my daughter
Right.
from maternity leave, and you got to shadow me.
It was, I know. And like, I mean, really, like, all I wanted to be was Karren Kenney when I grew up. Like, I remember the first day I came in, there were some lawyers, they're not there anymore, but you would know who they were if I were to name their names.
Okay.
And they go, here's a bunch of files. You can do these cases. And I had no idea what I was doing. I open it up, it's like blank.
Yeah.
God, I don't think you had a police report yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Like, you know, the lines on the top, right?
Yeah.
Notes. And I was like, okay. They're like, that's where you go down to the tank. I go in. I'm like, you look at the person's name, you know, you call it out. And they just look at me like, no, you're not my lawyer.
I know.
You remember that? I feel
Yeah.
like, no, you're not my lawyer because
Yeah.
you're 25 years old.
Yeah.
But I was able to shadow like people like you who taught me, I would say, so much.
That's so funny. I was always fighting with the DAs, though.
You were always fighting with the DAs. And I was thinking about this earlier as I was getting ready to come over because I learned, in part, it was the culture of the office too. But you definitely were an example of someone fighting all the time. And I learned that.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a couple examples. I remember you standing next to the tank in like the prelim court or something. You were like, Karren Kenney, on behalf of the public defender's office. Like, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to say. Right? Karren Kenney from the public defense. I better say Lauren. But yeah, like I learned how to present myself and I learned how to stand up for the clients against the judges. And I would watch you just like you were fearless. You are fearless.
And I'd get in trouble a lot. I'd get yelled at, but I didn't care.
That was part of the job.
It was part of the job.
That's what I learned.
Still get yelled at.
Yeah. That's what I learned is like, this is just part of the job. And if you are not getting yelled at some point in the day, like you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
You're not advocating enough. But you taught me a lot of that.
Aw.
So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I still get yelled at too. I mean, people don't even understand that like attorneys is so glamorous on TV, except in real life, you're just getting yelled at all day.
Yeah, we're not the people that are there to be friends with the judge or the opposing side.
No, and I will tell you, there was a DA. I was with, after West, I went to Central. They sent me to Central. There was a DA who I think I talked to one time. We had such a hostile encounter that I never talked to him again. Like, and I still had to do cases with him.
Is he still a DA?
He is, and he's like in management in that
that's
office,
funny.
right? In the DA's office. But
Wait, did he run for judge recently?
no.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's the husband of somebody that we used to work with. But he, I was like, something that was so upsetting to me. I was so like indignant about whatever I was saying that I just couldn't get myself to ever talk to him again. So we would go in and he would like push the discovery. Sorry for tapping the table.
all right.
He would like push the discovery across the table and I would take it.
And you're not even looking at him?
Never. We didn't even make eye contact because we had like such a hostile relationship.
so funny.
And I'd like write down like CTS and I'd like shove it back across the table because I was like, I'm not giving this man the dignity of my words.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, and then I went to private practice and I learned like you can actually talk to these people.
Yeah.
That might be helpful sometimes.
It is. I mean, I don't always fight. There are some DAs that I actually like that.
I know, me too, right?
I
didn't
that I got
know.
along with. It was.
I didn't know it was possible back then.
I know. It's just the unreasonable ones. I just.
Well, they're still there.
Yeah. It's you walk into court now and you're like, who are all these people? You don't recognize anybody from the PDs or the DAs.
No, because they're children. They're actually like could be our children. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's weird.
It is.
Yeah,
it's
and I
very
walk
weird.
in and I'm like way more friendly now because I'm in a better mood too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
You don't have like 150 clients and
Right.
you're at pretrial Friday and you've got a stack
You
of
take it
cases
out of your
like
box, like,
this.
Right.
It was court pretrial Friday. I don't know if you remember, Eric Peterson used to be
I remember
there.
that dude. Yeah.
And he was specially assigned to me because he was the only person that could deal with me.
That's amazing.
Because I couldn't get under his skin. He would
it
just
was a
laugh at me.
vertical Karen unit.
It was, yeah, exactly. But he gave away the farm. Like,
Well, he didn't want you to be mad at him too. So
he would deal with me. We ended up getting,
That's great.
getting along. I was sad he left. I know that whole weird thing, but
yeah, I never had anyone especially assigned to me, but I did have a judge that banished me from his court.
what? Is this person still a judge?
They are not a judge. They are retired. But I was a
interesting.
misdemeanor deputy, and I don't even know what I did. It was like one of those things where you're just doing your job. And I get back to the office, and Dave Dorkowski, or whoever is the supervisor at the time, goes, yeah, so I got a call from Judge so-and-so, and you're banished from that court. You can never go back there.
Okay, that never happened to me. That's pretty crazy.
And I think it was something that he was upset. I said something in chambers, and I was like, I'm so confused. I don't even know. Like, I feel like a reasonable person.
That's bizarre.
I'm not a big liar. Like, I'm just kind of doing my job, and I didn't even ever make the effort to go try to like clear it up.
So
you know how you would like, you know, like a normal person would like go and like be like, what's wrong? How can I ameliorate this or whatever? I was just like, if somebody banished me from their court, I'm going to give them the dignity of like hating me from afar.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I just respected that and never. And then the cases would come and they would just be like, one for you. Oh, you can't have that one. So I never went back. And then he retired. Good riddance. And that was the end of it.
I can't. You got to tell me.
I will. I'll tell you off the record.
Yeah, that's insane. I never heard that story.
Yeah, Judge Laird. You have to add some controversy to your podcast.
He was called Fast Eddie, right?
Yeah, but I never got any benefit of any of the deals because I don't know what I did. But
that's so
these
funny.
These are the stories that you live to tell the tale.
You know who loved Fast Eddie was Erica, because she could do like the trials. I guess were so fast in there. You could do
Not
like
guilty.
a jury trial in a day.
That's that's right. That's right. I know. And I think I came in Central, and I was just like I was still like getting my feet under me. And the next thing you know, I'm banned from a courtroom. I'm like, I must be doing a really great job
I
at
would
this
take that
job.
as a badge of honor.
Yeah,
personally.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You live to tell the tale.
That is so
yeah,
funny.
Exactly.
So at one point, so we were together in Westcourt, and then you went to.
I went to Central. So I did like a year at West, 6 months at Central. And then they said, and then I did prelims at West. They sent me back to West. Okay. Oh, maybe I did. No, I don't know. At some point I did a year and a half in juvenile dependency court.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to get to because when I started with the office, Tony Mesa was my supervisor, and I was first sent to juvenile. Okay. So I was a civil lawyer for 6 years, and I just wanted to do jury trials. Yeah. So I became a public defender, and then I'm like, juvenile? What? Right. And it was just my anger. I needed anger management when I finally got out of there because I was so pissed off.
Were you doing delinquency or dependency?
I was doing delinquency.
And it was worse then. It was so much worse then.
It was horrible because you have the cases, you have a probation officer in the courtroom. Yeah. So when you go back to chambers to talk about a case, it's
your
like
client's a terrible person.
3 against 1.
Totally. Yeah.
And then this was the thing I hated the most: the kids that were placement kids. Yeah. So somebody get in trouble, and their mom is like, "Can't come home." I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Right.
I have to tell him he can't come home.
Right.
I have to tell him he has to go into placement.
That's not what I signed up for when I became a lawyer.
It was horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And the kid's like, "No." I'm like,
"No, my mom loves me."
Yeah, no, she doesn't want you at home.
Yeah.
Sorry to be the person. Like, what?
How is that part of the...
Who does that to a kid? It was heartbreaking. But I did not do dependency like you did because I don't think I could have emotionally handled it because I had fertility.
You think I picked? You act like I picked the assignment.
Because I was having fertility issues. I think I would have just been a complete...
Give me this assignment. I can't wait to go relive all my trauma through this assignment, right? But no, I mean, like, I think it's funny because I didn't get delinquency and that's all I wanted, right? All I wanted was to help those kids. And when I looked also at, like, all those, like, shaved-headed kids, like, gang kids, I was like, please let me help them. That was, like, my passion growing up, like, in the San Fernando Valley, like, in Canoga Park, around kids who I was like, that could have, if I lived, like, 3 blocks over, that could have been, the kids that I was hanging out with, right? So I was, like, really compassionate about it. But I got sent to dependency, and they told me it was... I should be flattered.
Can you explain what dependency is?
Of course. Yeah. So juvenile dependency cases are cases where a parent or guardian is considered to place a child at risk, or as a result of like their failure to protect a child has either been harmed or is at risk of being harmed.
Like if they're doing drugs or
right.
Like
so the like examples would be a parent who's using drugs and like neglecting their baby on the floor, babies crawling around drugs and needles and things. You might have domestic violence where the parents are having actual domestic violence in front of a child. I mean, I've had kids that actually got injured. It happens. And then we have cases where kids are hurt. So a parent intentionally hurts a kid, a parent accidentally hurts a kid, or the child is hurt, but we don't know who or how, right? Some of those result in really serious cases like skull fractures, broken bones, multiple broken bones, all the way to, like torture cases that falls under that jurisdiction. I'll say most of our cases are not torture cases. I was talking to county counsel. It's good. That's a good thing, though. I've had one. The county counsel and I were talking the other day, and I was like, how often are you getting like skull fractures? Because that's sort of like my area of expertise. Oh, wow. I always loved the science. I loved.
Were you one of those brainiac kids that what did you major in?
Sociology.
Oh, okay.
So a social science, not a science. But that was where I was able to read people and kind of get a sense of what their like conditions were that led to whatever the circumstances that they found themselves in the law. That's like how I analyze things. But I kind of loved the science. And when I finished, I'll give you an example. When I finished dependency, when I went to the panel, I was talking to like very experienced lawyers about those same cases that were in criminal court. And I was like, oh, well, that's because of, the subdural and the bleed and da-da-da. And they're like, how do you know all this? Like, you've been in the office like 2.5 years, right? How do you know all this? And I was like, because I was cross-examining the sheriff coroner, at 26 years old. Like, that's right? Crazy, I was doing cases, suffocation at a daycare case. Like, they're really serious cases. And when you do dependency, you get everything. Everything from just drugs to the most serious things.
How did you keep your emotions out of it?
Well, I didn't have kids at the time. And I think that goes both ways, right? As a parent now, when I do look around and I see that there are a lot of non-parents in that court, I think probably because parents might have a harder time. But I think it gives you so much more perspective to have your own children or to work with children or, anything like where you have responsibility for children, good or bad, right? Because it can be very challenging, as you know, to be a parent.
Yeah.
But I think that I had a lot of empathy for everybody involved. I had a lot of empathy for the kids, but it didn't cloud my judgment, where some of the lawyers, I think it did, especially the lawyers representing the kids, right? Because they are the victims in those cases, just like any other case where there are victims.
So, you represent the parents, and then there's a separate attorney for the, okay.
So the court will appoint an attorney for the kids. There's the county. That represents county council represents a social service agency here in Orange County or whatever department of social services in another county.
And in every case, social services is involved?
Yes. So the CPS department, or they call it CFS in some places, DCFS, whatever's like the child welfare office for a county, and it's distributed by counties. So whoever's in charge of that. And there are social workers who went into the business just to do these types of cases.
Oh, wow.
They bring their own trauma with them.
Lovely.
Right? So they bring in biases, they bring in attitudes, because it's really just human affairs. Like the business of raising children and keeping them safe. Like I'm training my new lawyer, and I'm like, the law here is like a lot of people's gut. Do I think that's safe? Do I think it's, do I think that
like a reasonable person standard type thing?
It's just the best interests of children. The burdens of proof are lower because it's children. I'll give you an example. I had a case where my client had a 18-month-old, and they're bouncing on the couch, like around on the wall, and they get to the window, except the screen pops out.
Oh, no.
That kid tumbled down into the bushes down below on the second floor.
Bushes.
He survived. He was fine. Got a little cut,
That's a total accident.
It's a total accident, but, it easily could have ended up in court. In that case, it didn't. It ended up going through an administrative grievance process called the Child Abuse Central Index, which is like an offshoot of what I do. I don't know if you know I do all those administrative hearings. And we got it reversed. We won.
Oh,
but
awesome.
they found negligence on behalf of the parent. I'm like, sometimes there's just freak accidents.
What was the negligence? Because
he wasn't like watching him for like 5 seconds. You know what I mean? Like he was letting him bounce on a couch, and there happened to be a window with the window open, but the screen was up. And
oh my gosh,
right? Could you imagine all the things as a parent that like could have happened?
Just when we were growing up, like my brother was allowed to have all of us in the back of his truck, his pickup truck, and drive on the freeway.
Correct.
Like, you can't do that now.
I have like a picture of my grandmother driving in the front seat of a car holding me as an infant. Okay. I'm like, I love that picture. How did I end up in this work? Right? Because it was different. These are all things that are cultural.
Yeah.
They're the norms of the times.
Yeah.
And how the society like evolves affects how we think about being a good parent, being a protective parent, what kids need, what they don't need. We get cases that are ridiculous. Parents like fighting over, guitar lessons, right? Like, or I do a lot of cases in my private practice now where parents use physical discipline that would have been fine. Like we all pretty much got physical discipline.
I got whipped with a belt.
Right? That's like, now it's child abuse. I know. And so we're just in a different time. And I tell parents, like, I know we all experience that, but here's the thing. Like, the law says now that you can't do that. So you can't. Also, we have a little more science now where we know, like, it negatively affects the gray matter in kids' brains.
That must be my problem.
That's all of our problem. And I say, ironically, the impulse control we want to see in kids is negatively affected by physical punishment, makes them more impulsive. So let's just all agree that even if we thought it was fine, we're not going to do it anymore, right? And they get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that's like my bread and butter. And discipline kind of issues, I've always had like an interest in that because it is challenging to raise kids. And I think a lot of parents are really doing the best that they can, but they may not have all the tools.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to ask you though, because I've never done a dependency case. So the parties. So how does it start? Who files the case? So
a county council on behalf of the social worker will file a petition with the court.
Okay.
That's like the charging document.
And it'll lay out
right. They are supposed to file a warrant if they're going to remove a child. So they need to ask a judge before they can remove a child. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, and there are some federal court law, opinions that have said that if you don't do that, you can be sued, civil rights violations. So they must seek a warrant to remove a child from a parent's care. But if they just want the court to intervene, they don't have to get the warrant. It's only for the removal. It's like a Fourth Amendment, like a removal, right?
Does the parent know they're showing up with a warrant to take their kid?
Not always. So sometimes you would hope that a social worker's reached out and said, like, hey, can I talk to you about this situation? A lot of times people will say no. And then they get a warrant.
Oh, I see.
So we tell clients when they call our office, like, can I just tell them to take a hike? And I say, I would recommend that we deal with this. And I know how to deal with this. So let me advise you, and we'll deal with it as strategically as we can because we don't want a case. We can do this outside of a case, and if there are any problems, clean them up. Right outside of a case, it's always going to be in your interest. But sometimes that doesn't happen, or they don't reach out, or they do meet with them, but it turns out that they say, yeah, I did X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z are considered problems. They'll file a warrant and remove. At the same time, they'll file the petition. It's like a complaint, but it's different. It's not the state versus the defendant. It is as to the child.
Okay.
And then the facts include facts about the parents. There's even one exception. A parent can not do anything negligent, but if they cannot manage the child, the courts have said that they can still file a petition, even if the parent's done nothing wrong, because the petition attaches to the child. So it's you have to do a real cognitive sort of switch from criminal when you work in this area. And that's why I tell a lot of the criminal lawyers, just send it to me.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Just send it to me. I'll handle it. Send you a fee, whatever you want. But it is a different philosophy. The entire court's a different philosophy. And then you have like a detention hearing, which is probably most comparable to a arraignment in bail, because you're asking for the child to return home, or where's the child going to be placed.
How does that work?
They assume the reports are true, like in a bail hearing. This is how I try to analyze it, because I've done both. And assuming that these facts are true, does the court have grounds to temporarily detain
the child?
Yeah.
Okay, so in those situations where the court says, yes, we can detain the child, where does the child go?
So the child is supposed to go with a relative. That's supposed to be the priority. If you can release the child to a parent with protective orders or safely with some conditions, that really is the first priority.
Okay.
And we ask for that almost all the time. But if not, they look to relatives, or they call them non-related extended family members, family friends.
Okay.
Somebody, another kid from school and their parents, or someone from church, or like something family, extended friends. So that's where they're supposed to go next, or they stay in Orangewood, which is the children's home, or they go into foster care. That's the last place that a parent would want to see their kids.
Have they cleaned up Orangewood?
I don't go in there.
Yeah.
I know that I hear it's better than some foster placements.
Oh, okay.
But I would rather see my clients' kids there than like a lot of the kids run away. You know, rather see them there than on the street or in a foster placement where you don't know these people.
Yeah.
You know, at least the people who work there are like, that's their work.
What if there's siblings? Do they keep them together?
They're supposed to try to keep them together, but not always. I mean, I had a case out of LA. There were like 8 kids, right? 8 siblings.
So what happened?
They were split up. My client was the adoptive parent.
Okay.
And then they ended up back in the system because, because of discipline issues. The kids were all like, had a lot of special needs. And were high risk. Yeah, so you see all kinds of situations and compositions of families, all types. But yeah, if they split them up, they may go to multiple relatives or family friends. If kids have different dads, sometimes one will go with their dad, other kids will go with their dad.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so, you know, the court's trying to find a safe placement for them while the parents, we figure out, like, did this happen, what's going on, and how do we reunify these people?
How long do the cases last? I guess it
forever.
Just depends.
I would say, like, when clients ask me, I'm going to say minimum like 6 months.
Okay, minimum.
Right. But I've had a case like, probably the most I've had is like 3 or 4 years.
That's insane.
Right. But there are cases, I'm sure there are cases that go on longer than that. It's just people usually run out of money.
Oh, wow. Okay, so somebody gets filed on, their kid gets detained.
Right.
Is there something, because I've heard when I've represented people while I was a public defender and they had their own dependency case, they would tell me, oh, I was doing my plan, or they would reference some type of plan they were supposed to follow. What is that?
Sure. So the court orders the social worker, the agency, to provide reasonable services to the family right away. And that might include referrals for different types of counseling, classes, drug testing if they need to demonstrate sobriety. None of those services are mandatory until you get through the stage it's called jurisdiction and disposition, which is like, did this happen? It's like the trial. It's like trial and sentencing.
Oh, okay.
So none of it's mandatory, but it is a way to mitigate. We tell clients, like, okay, even if you're fighting it, like, do Plan B track and also do the services because you're reducing the risk, right? If they think that something happened, you're reducing the risk by addressing all these concerns. Even if you're fine, even if you're not a drug addict, like, just show them through the urine test. So that's usually what they're talking about, is like, I've been referred to a therapist, I'm meeting with a psychiatrist, I'm doing batterers treatment program, or whatever is the service that they've been referred to. And yeah, you can use that in criminal cases. So I love when I get both the criminal and the CPS case, because it's seamless for me to be able to use the mitigation where other counsel, they have more challenges in getting. I mean, I'll always work with the criminal attorney who will send a case. I want to help them on the criminal side for the client. But when I do it, like, it's all
both, so.
It's like going on in my brain on both sides, and I can kind of,
it's like 2 for 1.
It is, and I can strategize all these things in a way that benefits the client.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So the cases that actually go to trial, it's not called a trial?
They call it a hearing.
Okay.
Yeah. No jury.
Okay. Yeah. Which, well, I don't know if that's good or bad.
I don't know if it's good or bad either.
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I don't know of jurisdictions that do it with a jury. That would be really interesting. There are a lot of, like, foundational questions about this system that are interesting. Like, there is no jury. What would a jury think about these particular facts?
Your kid's getting your parental rights are getting terminated, and a judge is deciding?
And maybe it's a parenting method that people don't think is that big a deal, right? So I think that they chose to make these cases confidential to protect the identity of these children, right? So that kids aren't branded as foster youth for the rest of their life.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right? That's the idea, or whatever personal things are going on in their family that people don't know about it. So who gets the benefit of that, I think, is the question. The parents probably get the benefit of that too, because their business isn't out in the open. Like, nobody can walk into the courtroom and just watch.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Same with the juvenile delinquency cases.
But different than criminal court, where everybody's, like, watching, right? Like, what's this about?
Yeah.
The press can't come in. You know, it's really different. But I do think sometimes the social worker gets the benefit of it, especially if they're not doing their job. And I do think that there are cases where if it was open, we would get different outcomes.
That would be an outrage if I had a case, and if I actually did those, which I never intend to, but if I had one where the social worker was just, and then you see what they're doing and you're just like, what is going on?
It happens more often than you think.
Yeah, I
And you're just like, why? Like, mostly it happens where people are human and they don't like your client.
Yeah.
It's like a probation officer.
Exactly.
Like, you remember,
That's what I was thinking.
Remember when you did like probation violations, which was my last assignment at the PD before I quit? Okay, because that's the worst assignment.
C5? Was it you were in C5?
C58 or something.
So they moved it.
Yeah, whatever it was back in 2009. I hated it so much. And you'd go in, and the person who hated your client the most was the probation officer because they violated probation. Like, how dare they? It's an affront to all rules and systems. But that's how, like, sometimes the social workers are like, this parent, like, how dare they parent the way they do? And if they have conflict with the parents, like not making their job easy, it's just human for people to get into the, we expect them to be like a superhero. And they aren't. I just was reading a text message from a social worker to my client the other day, and it was like, if you want to focus on that right now and all the time. And it was like, and I'm like, but you're the professional in the room. My client is the person with the problems.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why are you operating that way? But they're human beings.
Yeah.
And I encourage clients, like, let's try to figure out if somebody has a caseload of like 200, I don't know how many they have, 200 cases, how can you make it easier for them?
That's true.
Because that will help you get your children back sooner.
That's true.
And then sometimes I'll just do it because they might not be able, right? So, it's a matter of it's literally just more human affairs, navigating people and trying to show that you are a normal person who can raise children safely.
Do you feel the judges that have these cases are trying to just not have to do the trial because they don't want to have that responsibility of making a determination?
It depends. We have right now a very junior bunch in Orange County. And in other places like LA.
And they don't get to choose their judicial
don't.
assignment. They just get stuck there.
So just like when we were public defenders or if you're a DA, you don't, you get promoted to something that you don't want, right?
Yeah.
So they may be new. These are all a new batch. I think all of them, it's like their first or maybe second assignment.
Wow.
But the law is kind of complicated in this area of law. The burdens shift back and forth. The evidence rules are different.
Clear and convincing is the standard to actually
to remove at disposition.
Okay.
Right. So that would be like your sentencing standard, right? That would be like to be able to take a child away from their parent. Clear and convincing.
I use that in jury trials.
You use the chart.
Yes.
It gets worse. It gets worse, right? And this is where we have to prove all the way up here. Right. I think that some of the judges don't want to be there, and you can tell.
I wouldn't.
You can tell they never come out, right? They don't come out. You're like, this is a collaborative court. We need your help. And they're like, let me know when there's a trial.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. So that happens. And then there are ones that come out and they're very involved, right? It just depends. I think it depends on how much they like the gig and how comfortable they feel in making those really hard decisions. Those are decisions that could affect a child's life and a family for the rest of these people's lives.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a little scary. You're a judge. You really now, when they all went on their judicial interviews and they were like, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to follow the law. They made all these promises and then they get thrown into this court and they're like, which child is the parent or which parent is the child going to live with? Right. And you're like, I guess I got to make this call. My law school professor would be like, that's judgment. You have to make the judgment call, right? It's scary.
It is scary.
And I think some of them are just scared. And I understand. That's really hard stuff. Or returning a child to a parent who you think abused a child.
Oh, yeah, that would be hard.
Because they reunified. And the judge is afraid they're going to end up in the news because something bad's going to happen.
Oh.
Right? Or, there's a real consequences. So I think it's a difficult job for a judge. And the best ones just put on their big girl panties and show up to work, roll up their sleeves and give it their all, right?
Yeah,
just do their best to get through it.
That's true. So the crossover, is there a huge crossover with CPS and criminal cases? Do you feel that that's more the case or just more CPS cases by themselves?
I think there's more, maybe it's half and half. I tend to experience more by themselves because I get involved very early. Okay. So if there's an investigation, it may not rise to the level of a crime, but so maybe somebody reported someone and there's investigation and I'm there to shut it down, right? So I do the cases way before they even get to court, a lot of investigations. But once they get to court, it could go either way. If there's domestic violence, there's going to be a criminal case attached. And even if it's not filed, we're kind of wondering in the background, could it be resurrected? Could they say something that this parent is now going to get arrested for, right, and bring their case back to court. So I'm very mindful of all of the collateral consequences for our clients. I also represent a lot of medical professionals, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Who end up with their family business in juvenile court. So maybe it's not related to their work, but if they're a doctor or nurse and they have something that goes on with their child and family and it gets referred to CPS, it could affect their livelihood.
Yeah, absolutely.
So being aware of all those consequences is a lot to be aware in addition to the criminal.
What about, do you ever get those where the school is reporting somebody because the kid comes to school with like bruises or? So
one part of my practice is on appeal. Okay. And I've been writing appeals since 2009. I've written probably 1,000 appeals at this point. Oh my gosh. A lot of appeals.
Wow.
I love to read the records. Like that's my favorite part. And you know, when you go into private practice, you may make more money. You're able to focus really deeply on your cases and take fewer cases as a result. But I still miss the indigent work. I went into the practice of law to help indigent people. It was a loss for me to leave the PD's office, not because I didn't gain so much, but because I loved that work. So when I left, I stayed doing appellate work for indigent clients.
Oh, on the panel?
On the panel. So I write for 3 projects. Oh, wow. And I teach other lawyers how to do it.
Oh, you do?
I do. Yeah, and train them and give them the opportunity to write for our firm and, you know, get their teeth on this work that is really challenging. And those are the cases that we see that.
Where do you do the training? Like, do you have your own training?
Through the firm. Oh, yeah. Wow. So just one-on-one, I train attorneys how to do it.
Oh, that's
And
perfect.
a lot of it is writing. Right, which is a completely different skill set than oral advocacy, but it's how you do appeals.
I loved the Writs and Appeals Department at the Public Defender's Office.
Did you have that assignment?
No, I sent everything over there because I hate writing.
They were geniuses, right?
Every time I was in a felony trial and something came up and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Your Honor, I need a break. I need to call my Writs and Appeals Department.
Exactly.
I would call them all the time. What do I need to say? And they would just tell me everything to say. And if it ended up getting appealed, then...
Because they know the law.
I'm a big person on protecting the record, but I'm not going to do the brief writing.
Okay. Well, I always liked all of it. I don't know why I felt like I really like to know the answer, and the cases had the answers. They might not have the exact answer on this one, but they have some area of answers.
That's true.
And so I also like the W&A people too. I think I asked them for motions a lot and like copied their motions all the time. But I enjoy the singular focus on reading and writing. That introvert side of me loves
You're an introvert?
I'm like in between. I think they call it an ambivert. You're like, you could go either way. It depends.
Interesting. I would have never guessed that.
My downtime is like a box of Cheez-Its in bed watching Netflix. Like, it's not going to a loud party. It really is decompressing because we do so much talking work.
That was the public defender PV assignment, felony probation violations. I did it when it was in C5. And you want to know who the DA was?
Yes.
Steiner, who's now a judge. It was me and Steiner.
And he talks.
Oh, my gosh. He was so funny.
Yeah, he's really funny.
But I would get home, and I didn't want to talk at all.
Right.
My husband would be like, what's wrong? I'm like, I just don't want to talk.
It's just like too many words all day. Like thousands of words.
It was a draining assignment.
Yeah.
Really draining. I mean, I'm glad I did it because you got to learn what, people are facing for probation violations and be able to use
It was
that.
a nightmare. And why are you shading it so?
Maybe just because I don't believe
maybe
you. Because I had fun with Steiner because
he's funny.
We were laughing.
But it was like the word. That's why it like broke me. It broke me to be the bearer of bad news.
Yeah.
Like, you absconded on probation. You're getting 90 days, right? And they're like, well, what are my options? And I'm like, you can have a hearing and you'll get 180 days.
Exactly.
Right? And they're like,
but I have a job. And
they're like, screw you, lawyer. Why are you telling me? And I was like, why am I the bearer of all bad news? I did not sign up to be that person.
That's horrible.
Let me make a difference. So
that's like Juvial revisited when somebody's parent didn't want them home. Like, I can't.
Those are the hard parts. So I figured out how to not do that as part of my job now. And I would rather read the records about like the kids coming to school with lice or something. And like, I mean,
what?
People
get reported for that?
Oh yeah. Or like the kid's been walking themselves to school all year and it's like 5 miles and they're 8, and you're like, oh. Maybe that shouldn't happen.
Like in the 50s and 60s, right. Those parents would be like, you have no idea. I had to walk through the snow.
Exactly. Those kids have like no shoes and they're walking, right? And then, because the problem is Netflix made like a special about like then the kid went missing. Right?
Oh,
every kid went missing is like a potential 300B case. So we get a lot of those on appeal, or like the parents like don't pick their kids up ever, or they never take them.
Or the people that have shared custody and the parent forgets
right.
they were supposed to pick their kids
Or
up.
they come to school and they fight the parent. Like that one's fun, know.
What?
Yeah, or they'll come to school and they're like, no, it's my day. It's my day, And
like, that's happening at school?
This is happening at school. I feel for school. Like there are so many people who are now the recipients of crazy. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Schools. Do you know how many parents call and they're like, I have the rights. No, I have the rights. No, I have the... Okay, so schools are doing that. Doctors' offices. The doctors are like firing patients because like the parents are calling in and they're like, no, you don't give them the record. Give me the record. Right, that.
Oh, jeez.
So like I think the world is so much crazier these days.
It is.
The way that people interact with each other, almost, I would say not all, but a good amount of my dependency cases have turned into family law.
Really?
And I do think it's the world. Yeah. People are just fighting with each other more. And their interpersonal lives are falling apart. Mm-hmm. And they're fighting with their ex and they're fighting over their custody. And we get so much of that. Mm-hmm. They're going to the police station reporting that they brought them to the visit 5 minutes late or, like things like that. It's just highly combative out there.
So when you get a case that has a family law case going on, do you do the family law case?
So I don't do any family law.
Okay.
But somehow I do now. I'm like, somehow they're all in my... I was telling our associate, I'm like, how come all of our cases feel like family law? People find their way into different courts to work out these problems, right? They'll make a criminal complaint against somebody. They'll call the police on someone as part of family law, or they'll end up in dependency because they're fighting all the time, or they'll call a fake child abuse report against their ex, or they'll file a restraining order. Like every court is kind of now filled with these family law cases.
Do you do restraining order court?
I do restraining orders, yes.
Okay,
but
perfect.
I don't do divorce, and I don't do anything that deals with like assets.
Okay, but you do handle restraining order court like that?
I do.
Okay, because we get calls and I don't.
Send them my way.
I will because I'll tell my assistant because
those are
draining.
Wild too. A lot of text messages to review. They're like coming with like, this is all of our conversations over 6 years. I'm like, no one wants to read that.
Who's the judge in there now?
Highlight it. They just moved Sherry Pham out, and it's Tiffany Ponce, who was a commissioner, and she just got appointed.
Where'd Sherry Pham go?
She went to family law.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that place runs hot. Yeah. It runs hot, and the people are fired up and ready to go. And I don't love that.
I couldn't do it.
I didn't want to do, like, that's not what I thought. I always wanted to deal with, like, the government and people's, like, and their liberties, their life, and the way the government can impede on their happiness, right? Like, and of course people do criminal acts, like we have to deal with that as a, like that's my wheelhouse. But like fighting other people, like what? Get a hold of yourself.
We have such fun jobs. Like as you know, I do mostly federal criminal, and I do jury trials.
You really got the government up in people's business.
Yes,
the real government, the big government.
Crazy.
Yeah. What kind of cases do you see?
Well, I did represent a protester
that
was following. They found out where the ICE guys were going, and they were following it, and it was nuts. My client was live streaming and following the agents, and I saw the video. The agents were driving so bad. Like, you'd be like, what?
Right.
And
because they just, like, got out of high school. Like, go on.
Yeah. So they realized my client's following them, and somehow they ended up not going to where they were supposed to go.
Oh.
And went to La Salle, like the base,
because
my client couldn't get in there.
Right.
So as soon as they pull in, my client can't get in, so he parks. They all jump out of their vehicles, go to him, and he's like,
my bad.
Open up the door. No, I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
They get him out of the car, beat him up. They bring him to court that afternoon, Santa Ana Federal Court. He has a freaking black eye.
Wow.
And I was so obnoxious during his detention hearing. Yes, Your Honor, as you can see, and I point to my client was beat up by the agents that are claiming that he violated the law. And I said, can I take pictures, Your Honor? Can I take the pictures in the courtroom?
For the jury.
Yeah. So she let me take pictures of him. We didn't. So when you go to federal court, you can waive your preliminary hearing at your first
Why would you
appearance.
do that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Sometimes you do, but on this situation, absolutely not. I was like, oh, no, I want to question people here.
Of course.
So what they do is they don't want you to do the prelim. They run and get a grand jury indictment.
Got it.
This guy, they didn't indict him.
No, because they saw his eye.
It was so bad.
And what evidence would they have? Like video of him? What's their evidence?
You should have. So when they file it as a complaint in federal court and it's not an indictment, because most of them are indictments, you literally get the whole investigation. It's the agent signs the complaint. It's the agent who's in charge and their narrative of what happened. So I'm reading this and I'm talking to my client. He's like, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. He's like, they were driving they were running red lights. They were driving crazy. And then when I finally saw, because I got him out of custody, when I finally saw the footage, I was like, they're lying.
Wow.
It was bad.
And people don't believe that happens. And that's why our jobs matter so much.
Yeah.
Is because people still don't believe that happens.
Yeah.
So good job.
Yeah, it was an outrage, but I was glad he didn't get filed on.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he's suing them because
I think, I don't know how that works, but good for him because, I mean, we have to hold them accountable because that's our job, right?
Yeah, so it was crazy. You know me, I don't claim a party preference. I hate politics, but there's just certain things I'm like,
Well, there are things that I think like fundamentally Americans should agree on.
They should.
That we should all agree on. The
everybody's
overreach.
Fighting.
Right, everyone's fighting, and that is not helpful.
No. Not
right? Like no president's going to be forever. So, but at some point, like what I've always loved about the work that we do is that it is not party politics. Though there can be social justice issues woven into it, whether it might just be about domestic violence, there are social issues there, or gang cases, there are social issues there, right? Yeah. However you fall on these things. But at the end of the day, our core job is to protect the rights of, the individual and make sure the government's honest and doesn't violate them. Yeah. And sometimes they, even when they commit a crime.
Yeah, and
even when,
right? One of the things that would bother me is when people that don't understand our job, they say, "How can you represent people that are guilty?"
Right, and I don't even know how to answer it. Like the longer I do it, the less I know how to answer the question.
I always tell them, I'm just their voice. I'm not here to pass judgment. I'm here to represent their best interests. If it's to get a good deal, then I'm going to try to get them the good deal. Just because somebody's charged with a gazillion different crimes, they might not be guilty of all the stuff they've been charged with. You're
like, have you ever seen a complaint? Because they file everything.
They do.
Right? And so I think when people are in the system, they understand because they see, well, they filed everything, or, well, they relied entirely on one police officer's version. And the DAs do that without looking at the evidence.
Yeah.
So I think that's where people don't know.
Yeah.
That we see the whole thing through.
Yeah.
But it's always become the question that the longer I've done this, the less I know how to answer it, because I just feel like I don't even know how to explain to you if you're not concerned with the fundamental rights.
Yeah, they will be if one of them or their family members facing it.
When they come into our office and they say, I can't believe I'm accused of this. I'm a good person. I'm not like your other clients. Right? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not like your other clients. And I'll pay you even more money if you can make sure that I'm exonerated. And that's like, well, first of all, that's not how this works.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm happy to take your payment. Second of all my clients say the same thing. Right? When push comes to shove, everybody wants us in their corner.
Yeah. It's true, especially those of us that fight.
Exactly.
Well, Lauren, I just got the heads up that our time is done. I know.
How is that even possible?
I know. It's been like we're almost hitting an hour. Isn't that
crazy? Are you kidding me? Oh, my God. We could do this all day.
I don't even think I got through half of this stuff, but I knew it would be a great conversation.
No.
But you have to come back.
Anytime.
Sometime.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes. I know. I'm going to have you back on because there was just so much other stuff we could have covered that would have been funny and
anytime.
Fun stories.
Well, thank you again, and I can't wait to see this.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.